The Final Four week, why each team can win the national championship edition of the College Basketball Experience on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Cut. Cut is a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's U.S.-based and available in 40 states. Head over to cut.com. That's KUTT.com. Use that promo code SGPN for a 10% deposit bonus today. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Play their fantasy pick-em all season long with the chance to win 100 times in NBA, MLB, NHL, college hoops, and more. Sign up today using that promo code TCESGPN to get 100% deposit match today, baby. Welcome, everybody, to the College Basketball Experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Well, it is Wednesday, April the 3rd, and we're talking Final fucking Four, baby. We got UConn Huskies. Well, they're still trying to figure out their travel plans. I think they just took off 20 minutes ago, so Dan Hurley's got his latest dose of motivation. We got also the Alabama Crimson Tide. They are out in Phoenix. They practice at Grand Canyon today. We got the Purdue Boilermakers, Zach Edey and company, and also we got America's darling Cinderella, the NC State Wolfpack, a.k.a. the Pussyback, out of the ACC. So we're going to touch on each and every team. We're going to talk some more coaches. We're going to talk some portal. We got a little bit of everything over at the College Basketball Experience. Thanks for stopping by. But if you're wondering who you're listening to, I am Moneyline Mac, a.k.a. the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin, also known as Mac Tonight, baby. Welcome to the College Basketball Experience, and we're gonna touch on each and every team in the Final Four, or all four teams, and we'll also talk the NIT final between the Seton Hall Pirates and the Indiana St Sycamores. But we got a guest on the College Basketball Experience, and those that tune in every single night know him from the chat. He is a former college basketball coach himself. He coached at Casper, Wyoming Junior College, also Anchorage in Alaska, and he also was a hell of a player back in the day. He is Kasey Riley. Kasey, what's going on, brother?
What's up, Mac? I appreciate you having me on tonight. Excited to talk about some good games.
Oh yeah, we only got what three games, and then a fourth on Monday night. So with the NIT NCAA tournament, we got 4 games. Like I said, 2-3 weeks ago, cherish every single moment. Kasey, we had some beers in Vegas. Telling old stories. Obviously, you're a Cincinnati Bearcats fan, so you like the Hugs tree. You like Mick Cronin. Thoughts on the tournament so far? I mean, there it is. There's the old Bearcat. I like the Bearcats. They're part of the Big 12, best league in America. Yeah. But Kasey, I know we talked about the tournament a little bit, but just your overall thoughts so far as we head into Final Four weekend in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah, I think the tournament's been interesting. The transfer portal has definitely changed a lot of things. The leadership and the teams with older players being able to withstand runs, I think, is a huge deal. Mm-hmm. I think that's shown, in the tournament, the teams that had those type of players performed. A lot of teams like Kentucky caught up with them. Duke, caught up with them. So it'll be interesting, I think, moving forward to see how teams, navigate those waters.
Yeah, and Kasey, you touched on the portal. You're a former college basketball coach like myself. Thoughts on, 1,200 names being in the fucking portal on April the 3rd? I mean, I think we both agree. I'm not going to speak for you. I'll get your input, but they have the right to transfer, but can we at least push it back till after the Final Four? We should not
Yes.
have coaches hosting transfers on recruiting visits during the Final Four week, like NC State, like Brad Underwood's calling a recruit. I think we've gone a little bit too far. How about you?
And I think we're doing basketball a disservice. I kind of think it's embarrassing. You know, the goal is to play in March. The goal is to win in advance, and that's what everyone strives for all year. And the fact that March Madness has to compete with the rumor mill is doing college basketball a disservice, in my opinion.
Completely agree, and I know people will point at the coaching carousel, but that's different because and I think one of the worst arguments is comparing a kid. He has an opportunity to go to whatever school. A coach that leaves for another job, the school that is taking that coach in or hiring that coach, they're paying a hefty buyout. They're paying millions and millions of dollars to get that coach to fix their product. These players, they can sign an NIL deal. They don't have to fulfill any requirements. There's no contract. It's just jumping from ship to ship. And like we're saying, like it was so extreme the other way that we've gone too far on the other end. We've overcorrected, kind of like everything in fucking society, to be honest. Honestly, the portal is kind of a reflection of society in our country right now. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I think to a certain extent, I don't think the NCAA wanted NIL. They didn't want the transfer. So I think they didn't put any rules and regulations in place. So exactly what's happening is the Wild West. And then, 4 or 5 years from now, they're going to say, see, we should have never done it. I think that's kind of a calculated play by them because it's unnecessary and it makes no sense otherwise. Like, there's a lot of things that weren't thought through.
Yeah, and like you said, the stubbornness of this fucking sorry ass organization called the NCAA has put us in a predicament where we have 1,300 kids in the portal now. Before we even tip off the balls, the fact that we had 1,000 kids in before the Sweet 16 was remarkable. I mean, and I thought Franford Chill hit the nail on the head. Not to be the freaking guy, get off my lawn, but there's a reason why those kids are in the portal. They didn't like these other kids that are playing right now. So shout out to the chat, Rob Donaldson, and Scott and Nathan in there. Can we please talk about the Vietnam War and its lasting society impact? A lot. You can point a lot of what's going on with the portal with the Vietnam War. So but it's we need to find a way to get this thing a little bit under control. Yes. Not against people transferring. I'm not against NIL, but there's got to be a time and place. We should not be talking about some bum fucking committing or that's on his 5th school and he's committing to, let's say Louisville, for example. I'm not saying an individual player, but they're going to Louisville for the 5th school while we should be talking UConn, Alabama, Purdue, NC State. But that's our 2 cents. So real quick, Kasey, before we touch on each team, I got to talk about the SGPN network because you're watching the college experience right now. SGPN is host to 20+ gambling podcasts and completely free. This week's feature is the MLB gambling podcast, and I need to get over there because I keep getting fucking screwed in this goddamn Major League Baseball. Cough, cough, Kansas City Royals blowing a fucking 3-0 lead for the 5th time, it feels like, in the last 2 days. If you aren't already subscribed, get over to the MLB Gambling Podcast. What are you waiting for? The picks are free. Kasey, I'll let you take this question right here. We're back on the college basketball experience. Rob makes a great point. Is there any actual reason why the portal can't wait until the season? I would say that the main reason is that everybody knows who's going in the portal and they just want to get a head start. What's your take on this?
There's not an academic reason. It's not like football where the semester changed. So that doesn't add up to me. And I feel like, the coaches I know that are still in the industry, they're talking to kids, they're fielding calls. They know the kids already been 1 foot out since January, most of these kids, right? So they've already made up their mind. There's only a select few that are getting the money. So a lot of them are just transferring, right? And then, the coaches are talking to them, or their camp, their people are reaching out to gauge interest from other schools. So, Rob, I don't think there's a logical reason. There may be something that I'm missing, but academics, no. Eligibility, no. So I'm not sure.
I think they're just lazy. They don't think about anything, and they're just like, "Oh, it's starting fucking this state." So, maybe we can get hit home that we need to fucking push this shit back. So we're talking actual games, because we actually have some really good teams. But Kasey, let's talk some actual basketball. Let's talk the team that everybody loves, or everybody loves to bet on. The UConn Huskies. They are, I think we all agree, the unanimous best team in the country. Why they can win it all? Well, we've already seen them do it. They won the national championship last year. They've covered 10 straight NCAA tournament games against the spread. They got size. They know their roles. They execute offensively. They can play slow. They can play fast. They can beat you by 30 when they only make 3 fucking threes the entire game. It's hard to poke holes at this team. Did I miss anything on why UConn can win the national championship for the second time in as many years?
No, I mean, I think they're the most complete team and have been. The fact that they have the experience is a huge deal. Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me when I watch UConn is they get kills. They get 3 stops in a row a lot throughout a game. You try to get 3 stops in a row as a team, so you put on an 8-0 run. They do it as good as anyone. And then they jump out, they take control of the game, and before you know it.
For former coaches like us, they're so much fun to watch. They really are. I mean, they're really selfless. Like,
yeah,
I don't think enough is said about Stephon Castle. The kid's a freshman. He's going to be a first-round pick. They don't really run a play for him.
no.
A lot of these kids would be like, get me in the portal. We're talking about the portal and NIL. UConn, they use the portal and NIL. I mean, I'm not going to be naive and act like they don't. They did it with Cam Spencer, but they have a way of getting these guys to buy in because of their culture. I mean, other than Dan Hurley's a fucking maniac, what do you think the main thing is why they're able to do so that separates them from everybody else?
Be honest with you, I think a big part is they get East Coast kids. I think East Coast kids are tougher. I think they're competitive. I think West Coast kids are about the highlight tapes, about the wow. And I think they get kids like Castle, who he's not worried about transferring. He wasn't scared to compete. So you sign with the school, you may not play because you want to compete. So you compete every day in practice. And it's not a big deal to you, what your stats look like, because all you want to do is win. That's all he cares about.
I've always thought that. I didn't even really think about it in terms of why they've been able to separate themselves. I mean, Newton's been able to transfer in, buy in. Klingon, obviously a Connecticut kid. Castle, East Coast kid. Cam Spencer played at Rutgers. Caravan as well.
Yep.
DR, I mean, and then Hurley's a Jersey guy. So
yep.
There is something. I mean, the best high school leagues are on the East Coast, especially the DC Catholic League. So I think you make
it just grittier.
Point. Yeah, I feel like they're better coached too. I mean, like you said, the West Coast is more about the highlights, but then that's why they haven't won a national championship since 1998 when Arizona cut down the net. Yeah. So we'll be interested to see how UConn does. If UConn's not going to get it done, why? How did they get beat?
I try to think of someone that plays a similar style. At least Alabama does something different, because there's a lot of teams that they don't throw anything different at them, and we've seen them do the same. It's the same result. So, I mean, the fact that they play different, it gives them a better chance than a lot of teams, I think, and it may still get them blown out by 20, but at least it's, a different approach to the same problem, right?
Yeah.
If they make shots, they got some tough kids on Alabama that want to take and make shots and that are fearless. The only thing that I'd be worried about is if UConn decides to play slow with them, which I think they won't get caught up in, something like North Carolina where you get caught up in playing Alabama's game.
That's what I was talking to Noah about the other night. He said they're going to run with them. I said, if they're going to run with them, I actually think Bama's going to keep it close because Bama's almost style proof.
Yeah.
Interested to see. Well, I'll get your official predictions at the end of the show. The number 2 overall best odds, the Purdue Boilermakers. Why they can win it all? Well, that 7'4" fucking monster in the middle. He gets every call. We've talked about it at length on this show. He doesn't get called for fouls. Another reason why I think they could win it, Kasey, is I think the pressure's off them. They got to the Final Four.
Yeah.
The monkey's off the back. I really actually think there's some more pressure on them playing NC State because it's a double-digit seed again. If they play UConn, I kind of think Purdue actually – it's just going to be playing with house money. All the pressure will be on UConn. They can match the size. Brady Smith's been unbelievable this year. I mean, not enough has been made out of how good Braden Smith has been. I thought Lawyers made a step. I thought Lance Jones been a perfect fit. I think Kaufman-Wren is a unsung hero. Gillis as well. Talk to me about the Boilermakers, why they could be cutting down the nets next Monday night in Phoenix.
Yeah, I agree with you on Braden Smith. He's been outstanding, and he doesn't get enough credit because he runs the show, right? I mean, They get guys the ball in their spots. They do a good job of executing, especially in the half court, and they pretty much take what teams give them. I mean, obviously, sometimes you got to force feed foul. I call him Foul Ming. Foul Ming. And for me with Edey, it's not that he doesn't get fouled. He gets fouled all the time. I get it, but he doesn't get called for fouls. Like the fact that he plays 32 minutes a game, he's involved in every rebound on both ends. He's involved in positioning on both ends, like just positioning fouls and rebounding. You can't tell me he only fouls once a game. It's impossible.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying all fucking year long. And honestly, I think our chat. Well, in case you know what drives me insane too is this fucking national media where if you push back that you think Zach Edey fouls, it's like you're a hater. No, I can acknowledge that Zach Edey's arguably the best player in the country, or at least the most dominant. You could say he's a great player, but you can also acknowledge what fucking happened in Tennessee on Sunday was bullshit.
Yes.
There's no way you can tell me that he only committed one foul when I can tell you 4 fouls off the top of my head that he committed. Two things could be true. And I just get so sick and tired of this fucking it honestly reminds me of the court storming where everybody's like, well, if you think that you should court storm, then you're just a bad human being. It's like, shut the fuck up, you pussy. And honestly, it reminds me a lot of that where if you disagree with what we're talking about, well, you're just an idiot. No, I could put the fucking film right on tape right now and point out where Edey fouls. Now, that doesn't mean he's not the best big man in college basketball. I'm not hating on Zach Edey, aka Foul Ming, like you're talking about, but I don't know, man. Everybody's just so polarizing nowadays. But if Purdue's not going to get done, why is it? Edey gets in foul trouble.
I think, Edey's not going to get in foul trouble. I was
Applebee's, aka DJ Burns.
I'll be interested to see what NC State does with their game plan because I'm trying to decide how they keep Burns out of foul trouble, who's going to guard him. The other big is Diarra, right?
Yeah, they are. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm trying to
Play that
decide
on
if
his mind.
he's more important to their success or Burns. And I know that's crazy to think about, but man, he rebounds the ball. And if they don't control the glass, I think they're in trouble. So if they do, if they can control the glass a little bit or not get, beat up on the glass, NC State, that is, that's a way Purdue could lose, or it could be closer than necessary. But they're going to have to get scoring from a lot of people. They're going to have to, have a few guys have a great game for them to stay in.
Yeah, I agree with you. So, real quick before we talk, John, the two dogs coming into this weekend and how they shocked the world, hit some big money line plays. We got to talk about Cut. Cut is a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's U.S.-based and available in 40 states. P2P social betting, newer, better way to bet directly against your friends, talk shit. With social betting platforms, get on over there if you like the NC State Wolfpack or Alabama Crimson Tide. Say, bet me, let's go. Download that Cut today in an app store at kutt.com. Promo code SGPN for a 10% deposit today. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Play alongside all season long with Underdog Fantasy. Make a little bit of cash. They got MLB, they got NBA, they got all the sports. We gave out winners left and right all year over on Underdog Fantasy. I like to sneak peek here. We're going to give out our official Underdog plays later in the week, but I think I'm going to go a lot of lowers here playing in the football stadium. So get on over there, stack winners on top of winners over at Underdog Fantasy for a 6-1 payout, 7-1 payout. Sign up today with the promo code at the top, TCESGPN, and get your first deposit doubled up to $100, as well as a pick'em special. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com in the app, register promo code TCE for SGPN to get first deposit bonus today. That's up to $100. Must be 18 or older, present in the state Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with the play, call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ncpgambling.org. All righty, we are back on the college basketball experience, and we're talking teams, why they can win it all, why they won't win it all. Well, here we go, man. Alabama. They're being slept on. Nobody's talking about them. Everybody's talking about UConn, the dynasty, potentially, their flight info, Purdue with Edey, NC State with Burns, Applebee's. Nobody's talking about Alabama. Why Alabama can win it all? Well, first of all, you go over to KenPom. We got the number 1, 2, and 3 offensive team in the country. So for all the people that push back on my theory that officiating matters in March Madness, I think this is proving otherwise. They call the game tighter in March Madness. These teams that are better offensively are having a good tournament. AKA my Big 12 teams are not having a good tournament because they're in the higher ranked on the defensive side. But Alabama, they can win because they play a unique style. They can make 23s at a given time. They also have really fucking good guards. Mark Sears, old, he's been to the tournament at Ohio, now Bama. Aaron Estrada coming over from Hofstra. They know who they are. And nobody likes them. So that's why I think Bama can win. How about you, Kasey?
Yeah, I like teams that have an identity. They have an identity. Like you said, they know who they are. They're not, when teams don't have an identity and they try to, beat you at your game, it never works out because especially elite teams, right? So I love Mark Sears. He has a lot of Jalen Brunson to him. Yeah, he is just tough. Last game, he scored 3 points in the first half, 20 in the second. So they can fill it up in a hurry. I like a lot of their pieces. The other thing I was thinking about, when you play fast, you tend to have, a deeper bench because you have to, right? So they got more guys that are used to playing, and, that could impact the game. But yeah, they force their tempo on you. They're not going to try to play in the half court. They know they can't beat UConn in the half court, so it's not an option.
I agree, and you mentioned it. Sears is a lefty, Estrada's a left. Like they're just like the stepchild of this Final Four. Everybody's like, how the fuck is Alabama in? They lost 5 out of 6 coming down the stretch. I remember once upon a time, a staff I was a part of, South Carolina, we lost 6 out of 9 coming down the stretch. And sometimes you lose in that quarterfinal like Alabama did. We did as well. You catch your breath, you get out of league play, and your style's unique.
Yeah.
Styles make fights. They've also seen UConn. I know UConn won the preseason tournament last year, but I actually think UConn was better last year from a roster standpoint. I know the record would say differently, but I like Bama. I like Bama. They played Purdue, they played Creighton, they played Arizona, they played Clemson. I mean, they played everybody in the non-con. I think that also helped them and why they were a 4 seed. Why do you think they're better this year for March compared to last year's number 1 overall seed that fell short?
Sorry, that cut out the last part.
Why do you think this team has been better in March then compared to last year's team? Because last year's team is the number 1 overall seed.
You're talking about Bama.
Yes.
I think when you have a kid like Miller, when you have a kid that is so highly touted, I think a lot of times kids by default feel obligated or they put too much trust into someone like that. I think coaches do too. I think this year they know who they are. I don't think last year they played fast, but I don't think they knew their roles and had the identity you were referring to earlier. I think that's the biggest thing. And they know who's going to take big shots and at what time, right? And when you know who's going to close and you know who you trust to hit a big one to end a 10-0 run, it's a lot different.
I think you hit the nail on the head. And Rob's making a funny ass joke. No murder, save with David. But Kasey, you are right. There's so much about this type of time of year, man. Like for Miami last year, I thought Miami wasn't very good, but they had an identity. They had an identity. They made shots. They're gonna ISO you. They're gonna go to Wong. They're gonna go to Miller. The teams that know who they are and they're older and they buy in with the coach, they tend to win this year. So Bama kind of feels like that team. Don't be surprised when this is a game on Saturday with Alabama and UConn.
I looked last year. They played in the preseason last year. Do you remember?
Yeah, it was at the PK tournament out in.
Is that where? Okay, yeah. I remember that game, but I mean, again, the 2 totally different teams, so there's not a lot you can draw from that, in my opinion.
Yep,
but they have seen each other.
Yep. All right, let's talk about the team everybody wants to talk about. NC State, the team that, they were dead man walking. Kevin Keats was going to be he was going to be at the Final Four fucking looking for a job here. Instead, they're able to beat Louisville. They're able to beat Syracuse. They beat Duke. They beat Virginia on the Bang 3. They beat Carolina to win. Then they come to the tournament. They beat Texas Tech. They beat Oakland. They beat Marquette. And then they beat Duke again to get to the tournament. Now they're at Applebee's. They're selling the bitch out. Make sure you get over there to Applebee's for the happy hour. The freaking beers are cold there. I actually do like Applebee's. Used to get pretty drunk at Applebee's. There was a nice little karaoke night in Morgantown. I think it was Monday night karaoke. So at Applebee's in Morgantown. So I know all about old Applebee's there. So shout out to DJ Burns. 2 for $20 with $1 cocktails. Rob Donaldson says that can get a college student drunk and ready to go for the Final Four. Why can NC State win it all other than we've seen this before in history? Jimmy Valvano, DJ Burns. I like your angle with Diarra. He's been the changing piece. I know Burns is the fat boy that everybody's falling in love with, but it's Diarra that's really taken it to another level, rebounding, defending, Middlebrooks, and those guys. So why can't NC State win it all?
Yeah, he's been good, in my opinion. He's been really good. He's been their one steady force because DJ Burns is big, but he can't rebound out of his area. So, having a guy like that who goes and gets it's, invaluable. So, man, if they're going to have to juggle and try to keep – I think they have to keep him out of foul trouble more than Burns, in my opinion. But because first of all, they believe. And if you think about it, you just went down that list. The only team that, they had a real close game with was Oakland, right? Went to overtime. But again, another team playing with house money. So that game's different. And, the pressure's off them, like you said, right? Totally different game when you just go in there. If you get out to a good start, the longer underdog hangs around, the longer your kids believe. That's how upsets occur, right? So I think the start is pivotal. If they get out to a good start, I think hang along as long as you can. And then, the basketball gods tend to, favor teams that, do right things. It's just how it works.
Is it ironic that 2 of their 3 hardest games were against Oakland and Louisville when they were favored by 6, 7, 8 points? I mean, like you said, man, this time of year, there's something about being the favorite. Favorites don't do well this time of year, unless you're UConn, I guess. But I'm with you, man. I usually like to fade the public dog, but this one, I have a hard time getting in front of this train right now. For them, I didn't even think they played well against Duke. I kind of just felt like they just kind of punked Duke in the end. Shire refused to make adjustments. They can play through Burns. They can make shots. And for some reason, nobody can make a jump shot against them. Everybody shoots 10% from 3. I mean, can Purdue and let me ask you this too. Is Purdue going to go back to being the old Purdue where they're playing a double-digit seed? Yeah, it's in the Final Four, but it's like, oh, man, I thought we were done with the double-digit seeds. I thought we were playing the top-tier talent. I don't know. What's your thoughts?
Yeah. No, I like a lot of those points. I think Duke played tight, and he coached tight.
Mm-hmm.
And they've just –
like your coach.
Yeah, no one made adjustments. The only kid that played well was a freshman because he doesn't know any better. He's not a cerebral, right? He doesn't see what's going on. He's just playing.
He likes his TikToks, yeah.
Yeah, So, man, NC State is just one of those teams that, you felt it coming. You and I were talking about it when you were out here for the tournament, and the other gentleman slipping my mind that mentioned they were going to make a run.
Noah?
Bigger guy. No.
Oh, CJ. Yeah.
CJ.
Yeah, CJ. He was fucking with us. But yes, he ended up being right.
He said it. Yeah.
He ended up being right. He goes, you need to submit. I said, shut the fuck up, CJ. I'm not giving in to NC State. I'm not giving the ACC. I should have given it because hey, fucking ACC, NC State have just rolled.
Yeah, like you've been there, right? So they believe. They've been there. They've been there for a month. They've played 5 tournament games prior to even getting in.
Like UConn.
Yeah.
Back in
just
the
like
day.
UConn.
Yeah.
In the Big East, the real Big East. That was an amazing. That's the best run I've ever seen. Bar none.
Now let me ask you this, Kasey. If NC State's able to pull it off, would that top UConn?
Man.
It would give it a run for the money because they beat Duke twice and they beat Carolina.
You'll like my answer.
They may have beaten Purdue and UConn if they're able to complete this.
It is the ACC though, right? It's a little easier.
Yeah, I do agree, but the fact that it was Duke, like the fact that it started with the fact that they trailed Louisville and Kenny Payne for 30 minutes makes it even better. Like it shows you that NC State, everybody's like, well, NC State was good. No, they really weren't. They lost 4 in a row. Their last loss was to Pitt, the last game of the year. But you could see that they actually were playing a little bit better. Burns got in foul trouble against Pitt. I remember that because they always give Pitt every fucking call with those fucking Diaz brothers and Federico. I was getting pissed. I bet on NC State that game, shockingly.
I was just kidding about the ACC. I figured you liked that, but no.
Yeah, I took the bait.
UConn was more talented. At the end of the day, they had a guy. They had some pieces. Jeremy Lamb was really good. I mean, they had some guys, and they have tradition. They have a belief, and NC State hasn't had that in 40 years.
Jimmy Valvano.
Yeah, like 30 years, something like that. So, yeah, it probably would be. I mean, it's real close, and they have knocked off some players. You're right. So, it's impressive. And I guess when I saw them play this season, it felt like they always beat themselves. It wasn't that they didn't have the talent. I mean, they'd be in games, and then they just have breakdowns. They would just beat themselves. And they haven't done that. It's a lot easier when the other team's doing that because they feel the pressure.
Yeah, and I thought Keats did not do a good job in the regular season, but he's done an unbelievable job of just coaching loose. I mean, fearless. It feels like he went back to his Hargrave days, and he's just like, I'm going to get after it. We're going to play loose. We're going to play hard. And he's done a great job. And I don't wish coaches to get fired. I've been in the industry. You've been in the industry. I hate the ACC, but I respect what Keats has done to be able to basically push off elimination, get an extension. Shit, now he's gonna have a fucking statue. He's gonna be next to Valvano at this point. It's really. I mean, I was alive for George Mason, VCU, being a Virginia guy. This one's more improbable, in my opinion.
Yeah,
because he was fired. He was fired. The other one had Larinaga and fucking Shaka, two established coaches that were good, not on the hot seat. He was fired if Kenny Payne holds on to that lead. He's fired if what's his name? McNeely, the kid from West Virginia, makes a free throw, or Tony Bennett fouls up three. He's fired. It's done. NC State's
that free throw.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, but I mean, just shows you how crazy this industry is, and all we can do is, I think, tip our cap to fucking Kevin Keats, because survive in advance, just like Jimmy V, and I know he's smiling down, but I'll tell you who else is smiling down, and we'll talk about the NIT here in a little bit in a little portal. Anybody that uses Manscaped is smiling because spring cleaning's coming, baby. Champions Classic this season. Groom your little leprechaun with the carpet, with the lawnmower 5.0. Room, start your engines, baby. Watch your confidence bloom like a springtime chicken with that flower. Embrace the season with join over 10 million men worldwide with Manscaped with our special offer. Go over to manscaped.com and use that promo code SGPN to get 20% off your free shipping today. I mean, it's the absolute best. Spring cleaning, no Phoenix freaking over there eating hot dogs at fucking Michigan State today. Hopefully he use a little bit of that Beard Hedger Pro Kit handyman so he could get a little bit of that electric face. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna need it. It's freaking it's April shower, so you're gonna need the waterproof and the LED lights to get in that LeBaron over there. So get on over there to Manscaped. 20% off, like I said, free shipping. Code SGPN at manscaped.com. 20% off free shipping at SGPN at manscaped.com. Nothing like a little spring cleaning in your pants to make sure you hit your driver right down the middle of the fairway. And we are back. I think there was another ad read, but another ad read. So shout out to chat. Chat's alive and well here tonight, Kasey. We got Rob Donaldson. We got Jerry. We got Cody. We got Damani. We got Nathan, Cody. I saw Vet up there in the chat. Michael, shout out to you guys. You guys we're here all season long. We're not going away this off season. You're going to be stuck watching me freaking yell at the screen all off season, drinking, talking college hoops, talking portal. So we talked about why each team can win it. let's talk a little portal here. I know we're kind of we hate the portal, we trash the portal. We're gonna recap the day because we did an episode last night on the portal. But since then, the portal has been lit up. Dougie Buckets, aka Doug McDaniels, is coming to the best league in America, aka the Big 12. He's coming over from Michigan to Kansas State, the next little guard under Jerome Tang. I like the fit. We'll talk about each one. Terrence Edwards, Sun Belt Player of the Year, going from James Madison over to Pat Kelsey at Louisville. He's already out-recruited fucking Kenny Payne in Louisville. He's only been on the job 5 days. Sky Clark, speaking of Louisville, is going to your guy Mick Cronin out at UCLA. Zach Martini going from Princeton to Rutgers. Makai Mason going from Rice to Washington. And, sorry, Colby, Brandon Johnson's going from East Carolina to Miami. The headline, McDaniel and Edwards, because Edwards is a Sun Belt Player of the Year going to Louisville. But just your thoughts on the portal. Any guys that have stood out that you like the fits there, whether it's Mayo going to Kansas. I know we're still in the early stages, but any portal additions that you like early?
Yeah, the portal is interesting to me. I feel like teams that just attack talent, best talent available, sometimes they're getting in trouble, right? Because you talked about the culture piece, and I'll be interested to see, how teams move forward with this, because I think recruiting kids from schools that have like systems would be more important for me as a coach. Like I want a kid. I only have a kid. I can only coach you 1 year. So what do you get? Like 5 months with the preseason, right? That's it. So the other 4 years, I want someone to be telling them the same things that I expected them. So a lot of these assistants, you were talking about the Scott Drew tree and some of these other assistants taking low major jobs. I'll be interested to see almost like a feeder system, AAA or something. If they have guys that they believe in, they're teaching the same, getting those guys over. There's a few that are interesting that don't feel like they fit. I think Jerome Tang, he would have taken any guard after the season they had. He needed a guard. So I do like Doug McDaniels. I like Sky Clark. I'll be interested to see how he meshes with their guards, though.
Because
they definitely struggled. Yep, they had the kid. They had a couple kids that Mick Cronin missed on, and sometimes you're trying to play catch up. So, which player you think will be most impactful
from today or just so far?
Yeah, today.
I think McDaniel. I think getting out of that Michigan situation, Juwan Howard, I think it was a fucking mess at the end. I mean, we bust Noah's chops on it. I think he's going to fit well there. New change of scenery, not fucking get suspended for academics. I mean, what the fuck? A guy that I don't have on here that hit the portal right after we got done live last night at 11 Eastern. John L. Davis from FAU hit the portal. So I would imagine that he's probably going to Michigan to join Dusty May, and Mike Boyden's also going to join the staff there. I love that hire. I think Mike Boyden's a good basketball coach. He got a shit deal at Oklahoma State, so he was really good for Brad Underwood at Stephen F. Austin for his first couple years, then Oklahoma State, then Brad left for Illinois. Now he slides in at that associate head coach. He's called plays in a huddle. He's called timeouts. I like I like John L. Davis to Michigan as well as it's going to be the FAU Wolverines next year, I think, too.
Yeah, he looked frustrated at the end of the year to me. He's my favorite player on that team. I love his game. He does so many things well. He picks his spots, and he can take over a game at any time. But he looked frustrated, especially in the conference tournament. So I don't know if that was with his teammates or the coach. I hope he's follows him. That would be a good situation for him, a guy who believes in him. But yeah, I agree with you. Doug McDaniel's having the ball in his hands all the time. I mean, Jerome Tang's going to basically give him the keys because there's nobody else there, right? So I think his
Marquise Noel, Perry last year. the proof's in the pudding. You're going to have the ball, and you're in the best league in America, and you're going to be seen every night on TV. This is a nice chance to redeem yourself. Noah's talked about potentially McDaniel versus Dickinson. I hope Dickinson's not back at Kansas. I kind of would like to see Kansas without Dickinson, although if Dickinson is back, if he is a role guy, he is a pretty good role piece. But if he's got to be your guy, you ain't going to win anything with him. You agree with that, right?
He looked disinterested this year to me.
Yeah.
He looked like he had nothing to prove. He went through the motions a lot. I didn't even know he was thinking about coming back. I knew he had an eligibility year, but I'd be surprised based on his demeanor. You never know what's going on. I'm just speculating, obviously, but I was going to ask you, do you feel like the players that jump from, say, a level up or a level down have been more effective than like high major to high major transfers? Because it seems that way. A lot of the better fits that you see success with, I don't know if it's a perspective of I'm the man, I'm a 5-star, I'm trying to be the man here. And some of those kids that are low major coming up for their opportunity, like Connect, he exceeded expectations. I don't know. Something to think about. Mid-major up. I just feel like the level jump has had a bigger impact in a lot of the cases.
I don't know if there's an exact science. I think because we're talking about K-State, Marquise Noel, he came from Little Rock. So, like you said, he was coming from low major to high major.
I don't know what it is. There's been some interesting ones.
Yeah, but you also see guys that go from high major to high major having success as well. I think it's just all about I think you can't I think the main consistent is you cannot build your entire team through the portal.
Yes.
I think that's what and I said it last year, and I know I kind of ate shit in a way because everybody's like, well, look at Miami. And I'm like, I know Miami's doing it right now, but is that sustainable? And clearly it wasn't.
Yeah.
Because they fucking fell right on their face the next year. Arkansas did too. I just think there still is a element of building culture and still building your program, having guys in there 1, 2, 3 years, and then adding a Dalton Connect.
Yes.
Adding a Lance Jones from Southern Illinois coming over to Purdue. Those are in Connecticut. Like, I know we did the graphic last night, but you look at it last year, Andre Jackson had been in the program for 3 years. Sanogo had been in the program for 2-3 years. Hawkins had been in the program 2-3 years. Then they had Tristan Newton to mold that team together with the point guard position. I think that's the best way to do it. I think that's been the most successful way. If you got to rely on your top 5 out of 8 guys being portal guys, you may be able to fucking trick it for 1 year, go on a fucking fluke run, but if you're doing that every year, you're not gonna sustain winning, in my opinion.
I think it's a lot like the 5 stars that John Calipari gets. You're reloading all the time, so it's hard. And I brought that point up because they're a piece to the puzzle, right? Sometimes when those kids, you're not bringing low major, mid-major kid in to be the man most of the time, right? They're just a piece to the puzzle, so they fit different. But when you bring in like a Caleb Love in, you have to totally retool what you're doing to accommodate sometimes, depending if they're a high usage player.
Agree. And I mean, I thought Carolina was good this year because Bacon and Davis had been there for 3 years, and they added a Cormac Ryan and kind of you treat the portal like free agency. Like I'm not getting my high impact guy out of the portal. I want a piece that will help me get over the top. So it's like I said, there's no exact science. We're gonna coaches and the more and more we keep doing this, the more and more players are gonna get in the portal. 1,200 kids already in there. Coaches, you're a former coach yourself, Kasey.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite hire so far in the carousel, or a couple hires? I mean, any ones that you really like the fit where you're like, he's going to be really fucking good there.
I really like Louisville's hire. I think Pat
Kelsey.
Kelsey's a great guy. He has personality. He wins kids over. He's got the resources, obviously. So I think that's a good pair. And then, yeah, Kyle Smith. I've always been a big Kyle Smith
Great
fan.
hire.
Winning at Washington State is very difficult. And Tony Bennett, when we played against Washington State, Klay Thompson's freshman year. And the year before that, they went to the Sweet 16. He had, Lowe was a point guard, and then Aaron Baines. So he had some guys, but it's really tough to win there. It was the worst job in the Pac-12. So the fact that he found success there and at San Francisco, and I can't think of the school he was at before. It was a Ivy League or a high academic school.
Columbia.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's done it at a few places. I think that was a great hire. I think it was a great hire. And I thought Stanford messed up by not getting Madsen, but I don't know. They might have lucked into something there.
I agree with you. I think the Huggers did a good job. And I thought his press conference was big time too, where he talked about his son having autism and having the resources of a Stanford university. Like, this is one of the benefits of having a private school post a university where they have a shitload of money. Like, they have a lot of money, they have a lot of resources, and this is going to be good for Kyle Smith and his family. I love that hire. Selfishly, I love DeVries to West Virginia.
I like the hire too,
because he gets to bring his son too. So lay down the culture. Rob in the chat talking about Chris Mack to Charleston. I like that one too. He wanted Xavier. He wanted Xavier. He wanted Xavier. Honestly, he wasn't even bad at Louisville. He wasn't bad at Louisville compared to Kenny Payne. They just had a conflict of interest at the end, and then the Dino Gaudio shit at the end was weird as well.
Yes.
So
that's the sour taste about him, probably, for a lot of people. I don't think he's a bad coach. I think he's done a good job. I thought it was interesting, that hire. I don't think it's a bad one, though.
Yeah. What do you think about David Riley to Wazoo?
Yeah, young guy.
I like guys that did not just get hired because they won a couple NCAA tournament games.
Yeah.
David Riley fucking won the league back-to-back years, and he lost to Sac State in Northern Arizona. I know that in the tournament, but there's something said for going 50-10 in the last couple of years. I mean, or maybe it's not 50-10, maybe it's 50-20. But it's only half his loss are bye games. I thought he did a great job at EW.
I think, guy I used to coach with, he coaches at Weber State, and I follow the league way more than most. And it's never the most talented team in that league. It's a team that plays the hardest and shows up every night, because there's some tough road trips. His team does that. He gets guys to come out and they run through a wall for him. It wasn't because they were the most talented. So if you get buy-in, it's a big deal. It is a tough job, though. I mean, you're going to be little brother. You were the worst job in the Pac-12. Now you're going to a league that an hour away, Gonzaga is big brother. So it'll be interesting.
It's crazy. Wazoo's little brother to Gonzaga now, but it's reality in the WCC. And everybody in the chat, Casey's good friends with Sundance Wicks at Green Bay. He did an unbelievable as good as, and I know you'd always bust my chops like, why wouldn't you pick Green Bay? Because I didn't think Green Bay was good, but I thought Wicks fucking did as good a job as anybody in the country. No Reynolds in the portal, obviously. What do we think about Wicks year 2? Other than, of course, they're gonna just win because he did it at Wyoming. Now he's at Green Bay. Who could be the Sundance Wicks of this year, where they come into a horrible job and they overachieve like crazy?
Man, Sundance played. I'm from Wyoming. He played in Wyoming, and he
hell of a coach.
He was unbelievable. He was a great player. He went to Northern State, which is a D2, and he played for one of the best coaches of all time. He's top 10 all times in wins. And he learned a lot, but the biggest thing with him is his energy. Again, like David Riley, he gets guys to play hard, and they believe in him. And, Noah Reynolds was a good get for him. He hired his brother on the staff. So that's why he decommitted from Wisconsin and went there. And it was a huge, and to be honest with you, I bet against them some nights and took an L, so don't feel bad. I just always like sticking up for my guy.
I'm like, that team sucks.
They do.
How do they keep winning?
They're not very good at all. And the fact that he squeezed everything he could have out of that team is crazy impressive to me. I don't know if he'll be there long. I feel like he's got the buzz going now. A coach that I could see doing that. Who comes to your mind? And give me a sec to think.
What was that?
Who comes to your mind? Give me a second to think. I gotta dig a little bit.
I like what Rob was talking about in the chat. And this guy is actually kind of a friend to me as well. We have a lot of mutual friends. Jared Calhoun going over to Utah State. I know that's not the same level as Green Bay, but what he did at Youngstown State, I don't think people realize. We're talking about Horizon. How bad Youngstown State was when he got there 7 years ago.
That's a bad job.
And this goes back to my point of when you don't hire a guy just because he won a couple NCAA tournament games. Jared Calhoun built that thing into a first, second place team in the Horizon, a good Horizon. The Oakland's in the Horizon. They beat fucking Kentucky. Yeah. Wright State's been good. They pushed whoever it was a couple years ago in the NCAA. I think it was Arizona. I think Jared Calhoun did one of the best jobs over the last 5-6 years at Youngstown State in the country that nobody talks about. So he's going to be a Power 5 coach. If I had to say a guy that nobody will talk about that will just go into a job and maybe win right away, like Wicks did at Green Bay, because that one came out of nowhere. I kind of like what Rob's saying, Brian Earl at William & Mary coming over from Cornell. I thought Cornell was exciting. I thought they played hard. I think Bill Mary needs that. Maybe Brian Earl from Cornell.
I'll be interested to see, and I don't know their names off the top of my head, the D2 coaches that were hired. I think we've seen success with that, Indiana State and, Montana State. I was surprised he turned that Washington State job down. By
Loogie, yeah.
That's crazy. That's got to be a slap to the face. I mean, that's tough. And I don't blame him. I think it's tough. It's a tough gig. But, yeah, those coaches.
He's going to get a better one, I think. He's probably going to get a Mountain West job just like Sprinkle did from Montana State.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see how they do, because I feel like a lot of those coaches had sustained success, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. It's hard to. I would think it would be hard to translate. Some people thinking a level of play, but if you can get some players and you have a good system, and look at Indiana State, I think he's done a phenomenal job, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's not there next year. You think some of these teams, just because he's still playing?
I think he's going to be at St. Louis on Friday. I think tomorrow night's his last night, and so St. Louis is a team, because I think Robbie Avila is going to be a St. Louis. Is going to be a Bill kid. Which
I hadn't heard a rumor on him, but I anticipated. There's a few teams that are in the waiting, and I'm sure he knows too. He's done a great job. Avila reminds me a lot of Kevin Pittsnoggle.
Yes,
he really does.
Yeah, I know you messaged me that. Yes,
yeah, and they run great stuff.
Absolutely, and I know DeVries was great at Drake, and he's over at West Virginia. Ben McCollum taking over. You're talking about D2 at Northwest Missouri State. 185% of his games taking over Drake. That's a good hire. That's a good hire.
It is a good hire.
There's going to be a lot of really good coaches taking over nice situations next year. So,
especially if they stay in the same region, because they
yeah.
recruit that region. They just can't get the talent on those teams. They take the other talent, but they have ties. They know coaches. They just have to recruit the different player on that team. Now that they have access to, the higher level players, I think there's a huge correlation. Rob, the Duquesne job was
bump within
LeBron James's high school teammate. He's a point guard. And they bumped him. See, those are tough for me, man.
Is that where Bronny's going?
That's where I think he's going.
He should go there.
He should. He would get more playing time, more responsibility. I mean, you can't want to play in the league and not, get tested. And as a guard, you have to be in situations, right?
I saw somebody he should go to Duke or Kentucky. I go, he ain't good enough to go to Duke or Kentucky. I know his dad thinks he can play for the Lakers, but he should go to Duquesne.
Yes, he should. And,
he'd actually be good at Duquesne.
He would. It's a good level for him. He'd be an impact guy,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, but as a former coach, I feel like that's like a nepotism hire, right? Because of who that guy is, in a lot of ways. Like, we're not there. I don't have boots on the ground. It's just perspective, right? But it's tough when you see how hard some of these guys work. I mean, you talk about Kyle Smith. You have no clue. The fact he did all that and he has that to come home to is mind-boggling. I mean, these coaches spend so much time that the players don't get, that the fans don't get. It's long days.
Yeah, it's that's why, like you said, like a guy like Sundance Wicks, it's great to see guys like that do shit the right way, that pay their fucking dues.
Yes.
And win when they get the opportunity. The JUCO guys, I mean, the JUCO guys are great. Buzz, Chris Beard, guys that just grind and grind and grind.
Steve Lutz.
Yeah, Steve Lutz at Oklahoma State. Chris Jans at Mississippi State. Those are the guys you root for, not the entitled players. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, we got the must bus rumored to USC.
Yeah,
we'll see how that thing shakes out. And that would open up the Arkansas job. Maybe Will Wade jumps if Arkansas does open up. I mean, that's kind of we've been waiting to see where Will Wade potentially would go from McNeese after year number one. I think Arkansas Chris Beard.
You think he's staying there?
Yeah, I think he'll stay one more year. I mean, I thought he got the culture down at Ole Miss. I mean, that's what he did at Texas Tech. And then year number 2, he was able to go to the Elite Eight and then the national championship. He's got to get some guys at guard. His team didn't guard well enough for what they were. He's
a D2 guy too.
Yep, he's a hell of a coach.
He came from D2, and you're right. He plays, a certain style, and they didn't have that. I think he was rushed with that hire, and I don't think they got the guys he wanted.
Yeah,
I don't think he liked the team.
No, you could tell he's checked out by the end. He thought they were soft as fuck, and I'm sure he would tell you that. So
yes.
All right, Kasey, let me get you. We talked enough portal. We talked enough coaches. We do have an NIT final game tomorrow. People actually want to hear who we're going to pick. We got, what's the current line? I believe Indiana State. They're going to be the home team too, by the way, everybody, if you didn't see that crowd last night. NIT Championship. Indiana State is laying 3 against Seton Hall. These are the top 2 seeds in the tournament because these are the top 2 teams that got left out of the NCAA tournament that were good enough to be in the tournament and win a game in the tournament. The Sycamores are laying 3 against Seton Hall. Both teams were impressive the other night. I like Shaheen Holloway as a tournament coach. I think they're tough. They're old. They're physical. I think it's a tough thing to simulate on less than 48 hours, that Seton Hall physicality with those guards, with that size in the front court. I'm going to take the 3, and I actually think Seton Hall is going to beat Indiana State in the final with Carderi Richmond, Dawes, Dre Davis, and company. I'll take the 3 and sprinkle some on the money line with the Pirates of Seton Hall to get it done over Indiana State. What do you think, Kasey?
I'm all over Seton Hall. I live in Vegas, and so I watched the UNLV game, and man, I thought they should have been in the tournament in the first place. And I'm with you. They are so long. Like, they start guys, Kadari's 6'5", 6'6". I mean, every one of their guys is long. It's hard to run action when guys don't let you get to your spots. Indiana State runs great action. They can't get to their spots. Now, they can get out in transition. Maybe they have a shot, but I like Seton Hall. I think they're playing great basketball, and I love Shaheen Holloway. They took on his personality. Great coaches get their teams to take on their personality. They've done that.
Agreed. Yeah, and that's for Indiana State on short rest. This is a hard team to replicate and prep. It's they got seniors, like you said, with Richmond, Dawes, Dre Davis. Dude, call me crazy. Seton Hall could have made the Final Four in the NCAA tournament.
No question.
If they got the right draw with those seniors, that physicality, that style of play, it really is a shame that they did not get a crack at that fucking NCAA tournament.
I agree.
I'm with you, man. I think they could have made the Elite Eight, maybe even the Final Four. They could have been NC State. They're better than NC State. If they play tomorrow, I'll take Seton Hall.
No question.
Even though I know we're in love with NC State, I just wish they got to play Colorado State instead of fucking Virginia. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, they just need an opportunity. I think the biggest thing was, and they had some portal guys, right? But when you're not right at the beginning of the year, when this year they weren't eligible for the first how many games, a lot of teams, there's just a lot of moving parts. And I think early losses, bad losses, I've never been a believer that bad losses should outweigh good wins. Because to me, it's like, who can you beat? I'm going to put tournament teams that can beat elite competition. And, if you beat Marquette and UConn, you can beat 2 of the top 20 seeds in the tournament. Like, I don't care who you lost to. I need to know who you can beat and how you finish the year. And I feel like they got a raw deal. I agree. And I think they played pissed off the whole tournament because of it.
And they beat St. John's 2 out of 3.
St. John's too.
They beat everybody. They beat Marquette. They beat Connecticut. They beat the hell out of Connecticut. They beat Creighton. It was like, come on. Like, actually, no, they did not beat Creighton. I forgot they lost in triple overtime. But I felt like they got
there. Who can you beat?
I guess their one bad loss. They had a couple bad losses in non-con to fucking Rutgers. I don't know.
That's an interesting game because, they just muck it up. And I don't know. I mean, it's just tough for me. There's a lot of teams that can lose on any given night, right?
And the eye test. Like, when I watched Seton Hall, I was like, this team's an NCAA tournament team. This team.
They jump off the page. Yeah.
Yeah.
That you could tell they impose. It's the metric stuff is hard for me because, a lot of teams don't finish the year well, or they got guys that get hurt, and you took an L to a full healthy team beginning of the year, and it still impacts the same way, right?
Yeah.
So I'm with you. The eye test, like, they're a tournament team. You don't have to look at them look at them in Virginia, and you tell me. Come on.
Look at St. John's. Look at fucking Providence. Like, how can you say Virginia should have been an over? But
there's a lot of teams. I wouldn't even been mad. I'm a Mountain West guy. If they put them in and left the Mountain West team out, like Boise or Colorado State, yeah, I'm cool with it. Because I like that team. I think they're like you. They could have made a run. They definitely could have.
Well, the other team, Dayton and FAU and fucking Michigan State got in because their name's Michigan State and their coach is Tom Izzo. There were a lot of moving parts, but
it's almost like they should put up a graphic during Selection Sunday projected revenue generated, because I feel like that's what it comes down to sometimes. It's not who earns it. It's like the NCAA is always trying to make money, right?
Facts.
It just feels, it feels like it's just unfair to the kids is who it's unfair to. They put in the time and effort,
Agree, man. National championship or Final Four predictions. Who do you got winning each semifinal? Who you got cutting down the nets Monday, April the 8th?
Lines are we going off of?
Yeah. I'll let you pick the games ATS. I took both dogs ATS.
Okay, yeah, that's
did our show on
doing.
Monday, so
Oh,
I
I'm
wanted to
sorry.
hear.
Yeah,
we so go check out our show Monday night. Me, Colby, Nick. I'm still on NC State with the points. I'm still with Alabama and the points. I had NC State shocking the world and playing UConn in the final.
I think in those games I might look to the underdog to play well in the first half. Or it's something that you can live bet if they get off to a poor start, maybe catch some extra points. But I think at the end of the day, UConn and Purdue still win. I think that's the matchup that everybody wants. I think the matchup the NCAA wants. It's just a lot of factors. Like it's like going in to fight the heavyweight champion, right? If you go in and fight Mike Tyson, you can't let it go to the cards. You got to knock them out. So they're going to have to beat 8-10 points better tomorrow to win either of those teams.
Yeah. Who do you got cutting down the nets on Monday? UConn.
Yeah.
It's hard to pick against them. I mean, they're fucking good, man.
I feel like I trust their role players more. Like Braden Smith's great, and I like some of those guys, but I don't think that they're equivalent to what they're throwing out there. I just don't. I like their role players better, and Edey can cancel out, but yeah, I like UConn.
Edey Klingon would be fun.
Yes.
Getting those two giants match up against one another. Because I mean we've just seen them dominate whoever it is in front of them with their size. Now it would be set. Honestly, Klingon would look small. He would look small, 7'4" versus 7'2". So
I don't trust anyone to make shot for Purdue in a match. I really don't.
Yeah. Maybe
when the game gets tight. Yeah. And he's gonna have to do a lot. Like what kind of legs does he have left? Sometimes it comes down to that attrition a little bit.
It's gonna be interesting. DJ Burns versus Edey. You got Alabama in that style versus UConn. Saturday night, man.
Who do you think NC State is gonna have guard?
Edey. I think they'll put DR on him. I don't think they're going to put Burns on him.
I think so too, and I made that point earlier, and I thought about that, and I think that's what they're going to do too, because it seems like he's more important, but I don't know, man.
I know Keats played 1-3-1 a little bit at Wilmington back in the day too, so I think we could see some zone. Just to mix it up. I think Bama's gonna play some zone. You gotta fucking mix some shit up here. You're a 10-point dog in the Final Four. Throw the kitchen sink at him. Throw a 1-3-1 at him. Throw a 1-2-2 at him. See if you can steal a couple possessions here.
As a coach, when I was scouting, I hate scouting and walking our kids through how to guard what they're good at. There's too many breakdowns. Kids don't remember. It's loud. I like making you uncomfortable. You're gonna have to adjust to what we're doing, like you're talking about. It goes on. Let's throw some different looks at them, so they don't get a rhythm. It's not the same guys taking the same shots from the same spots.
Agreed, man. It's gonna be interesting. Hopefully, we get 2 good games. That's all I want. Close games. If we get UConn Purdue on Monday night, we get UConn Purdue on Monday night.
Yeah.
But hopefully they got to earn it their way. Kasey, it's been fun, man. I'm glad we finally got you on. I know we talked about it in Vegas over a couple beers, couple cocktails. Definitely have you back on. Like I keep saying, everybody, we're not going anywhere here over at the College Basketball Experience. We're covering the season all season, or the off season all season long. Make sure you follow Kasey over at Coach_Kasey_41. Tweeting out good stuff, covering the coaching carousel, covering the portal. Like you said, Kasey's been in the coaching industry just like me. So we've seen that, done that, all that good stuff. Anything, last thoughts before we get up on out of here, man?
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you having me on. I appreciate everybody listening. And, chat's been on fire. It's fun, man. I'm a hoop junkie, man. I love talking hoop.
Just like everybody here, man. Shout out to the chat. You guys are on fire tonight. Appreciate you guys stopping by, even though we only have, 4 games to pick the entire year. But yeah, I mean, this is what makes college experience so great, is the community, the relationships we've built over the last couple years. So make sure you're subscribed to the College Football Experience. Colby was doing episodes over there. The Main Sports Gambling Podcast with Ryan and Sean. The FCS Experience, the Big 12 with myself, Rush, and Troy. And, we'll be back tomorrow night. We'll be talking some more college hoops, more portal, more coaches, and a little more Final Four. So this is the College Basketball Experience. I am Moneyline Mac. He is Kasey Riley, and we are out of here.